is the fastest growing app to reach 100 million users in the history of the world. It surpassed Google Plus, which took a year. Welcome back to the SciChat podcast. Before we jump into this episode, I want to share a concerning statistic and an observation that was made apparent to us over the last 18 months or so over at Tradie Web Guys, which is the digital agency that we run that specializes in trade businesses. 8 out of 10 businesses that came to us, actually 85% of the businesses that came to us, with no exaggeration, they did not have the right foundations laid when they came to us looking for marketing related services. So what does that actually mean? Well, essentially there were people coming to us wanting to spend money, but at a greater look, they had so many holes in their bucket that spending money on the campaigns they wanted to get up and running was a complete waste. It was just going straight to water. The point is, guys, if you guys are looking at really growing your business, you've got to make sure you have solid foundations laid. We have, over the last 12 months, essentially revamped the whole way that we approach the digital space for trade businesses. And it all starts with laying the right foundations. So what does that look like for you? Well, does your website look right? Do you have the right conversion factors built onto the website? Are you capturing all of your leads and all of your contacts? Are those contacts being fed into a lead management system, which can help you, first of all, capture, but then automate and nurture your contacts? You do not want to be in that situation where you're constantly churning and burning leads. So guys, please, if you're doing any sort of outreach, any sort of marketing, make sure you have these things dialed in. Now, as I say, we've redesigned the whole way that we service our customers, and the first thing that we look at is foundations. So if that sounds like something that you want to at least get a different perspective on, head across to tradiewebguys.com.au, fill in the contact form and have the conversation. It's not going to cost you anything, but it could save you and make you thousands. I look forward to chatting with you. Enjoy the podcast. Okay, unless you've been living under a rock for the last 6 months, you'll no doubt be aware of the emergence of AI tools. In all my years of running a marketing agency for tradies and contractors, I have never yet seen anything this exciting. In this podcast, we discuss a number of things, but primarily the search engine shift in power that's happening right now. And spoiler alert, Google is sweating on this one a little bit. How AI has changed the way that we market our businesses, and what the future of strategies like social media, SEO, and paid ads looks like, plus a few other things. Hello, welcome back to the SciChat podcast. And today I'm going to be talking to you about a topic that is super trending at the moment. And if you haven't heard of this, it's probably because you're living under a stone or something. However, what I'm talking about today is how the emergence, the all of a sudden emergence, and more importantly, I suppose, the availability of AI, artificial intelligence tools that have been made available to the public, especially in how it relates to trade businesses, and more importantly, the marketing for trade businesses. So it's been a really interesting journey lately, and I've created a podcast off a blog which I've actually created. It's in editing right now. It'll go live around the same time the podcast does, because I appreciate a lot of you guys are driving from site to site, and it's sometimes easier to listen to something than it would be to read. If you do want to get access to that blog, though, head across to thesiteshed.com and just search AI, and you'll be able to find that specific blog and this podcast for that record. And actually, while you're over there, I want to encourage you, head across to thesiteshed.com /newsletter, and there'll be links to that all over the homepage. We're going to be starting to really create a lot of useful and relevant content, and things like emails that are going to come out more regularly that have specific information like this kind of stuff. There's going to be more downloadable resources. Like we're working on putting resources together with podcasts, so you can actually practically get something from the podcast and you can go and apply it to your business. It's all relevant to the trades, by the way. So you're not going to see anything come through in that newsletter that is not relevant to the trades. And if you're not already subscribed to that, where you don't get access, you don't get sent the podcast and stuff like that, I encourage you to go check it out, because we're going to start putting through a lot more of that sort of information. So it's going to be a kind of a curation of things that we've been putting together. We used to be really big on this. We sort of dropped the ball on it lately, but we're getting right back into it because, quite frankly, people have been asking for it, and it's I see it as my responsibility to be getting this stuff over to you guys. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, by the way. All this stuff is globally relevant. And if it's not, then I will specify that. But today, what we're definitely going to be talking about is globally relevant, and it's super interesting. And from the perspective of somebody that owns and runs a digital marketing agency, it's been such an amazing couple of months watching how all of this stuff unfolds in the space of AI tools that are becoming available, and the technology that's evolving just at an insane rate. And of course, there's ripple effects across every industry as a result of what we're seeing here in the space of artificial intelligence. And I've called this podcast and this transforming marketing for trade businesses, and it is literally transforming marketing for every business. So I really encourage you guys to check this out, because I really want to talk a little bit about what the future looks like off the back of some of these new. Well, I mean, in truth, it's not really that newer technology. Some of this stuff has been around for a long time, but very recently it's been made available to people, and that's the difference, right? So we're going to talk about what that might look like for your business, and so you guys can kind of keep ahead of the curve with some of these things. And I'm sure some of you guys already are doing this, so kudos to you. But if it's kind of new and you want to learn a little bit more about this stuff, then I'm going to try and get a lot more of this content out there to keep you guys on the cutting edge, right? I want to take it back a notch here and sort of go back to the beginning of this whole recent evolution, and cast a bit of context for you guys, because obviously all of you have heard about Google, and all of you are almost certainly aware of what a monopoly it kind of has in the marketplace when it comes to search engines and things like that. Like, we all know and love Google, and hate it as well, I should say, for rightful reasons. So a little while back, maybe, I don't know, 6 months, probably not even, a company called OpenAI released made their products publicly available. And one of their products was called ChatGPT. ChatGPT actually has been available for about 18 months, but not publicly. And so companies that did have access to that API have been leveraging it quite successfully, to their credit, for quite a long time. And that's why I say the technology itself is not necessarily old, but now it's in the hands of you and I, which is a bit of a game changer. ChatGPT is the fastest growing app to reach 100 million users in the history of the world. It's surpassed Google Plus, which took a year. Also, just want to clarify here, so guys, I'm going to be referencing some various articles and documents, and I'm going to also be referencing some of the information that I've got within my blog in this podcast. So if you're watching this, excuse me for looking down occasionally just to pick up on some of these points. If you're listening to it, you probably will be none the wiser. But I'm going to be referencing some documents here just to make it a little bit more compelling for you. So ChatGPT reached 100 million subscribers within 2 months after launch. So that was a record. Google Plus, apparently years ago, which is ironically no longer a product. Google Plus reached that within a year, and ChatGPT got there in 2 months. So it's pretty crazy growth. And if you've used it, you'll see why. Like, it's really, really cool. But anyway, going back to what I was saying as a bit of a prelude here, when ChatGPT went on the marketplace, people started using it, and people do to this day use it as an alternative to Google. So instead of people going to Google and typing in something, people are now heading over to ChatGPT, and they're typing similar queries or questions into ChatGPT instead of Google's search engine. Now, this does have problems as well, because the data source from where that information is being pulled is up for discussion, but it's statistically not as factual as some of the information. I mean, look, you would argue that information you get from the internet is not factual anyway. But anyway, the data sources are a little bit questionable. Regardless, people are using it as a search engine, right? Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Microsoft, who you no doubt are aware of, invested $10 billion into ChatGPT 18 months ago. Now, Microsoft, as you may or may not be aware, well, I'm sure you would be aware of back in the Stone Ages when people used Microsoft Explorer when it was the number one search engine in the world. But more recently, their search engine, they also own Bing. Now, Bing is a direct competitor of Google, and what we're seeing now is this emerging battle between the conglomerates. We've got Google and we've got Microsoft. It's not like it's an old battle. It's been around for a long time. It's like, Samsung and Apple kind of scale battles here. But what the interesting thing is that Microsoft have been able, as an early investor in this technology, to be able to extract some of that market share from Google when it comes to search engines. Don't ask me what the stats are on this. I don't even know if it's publicly available, but you know for certain, most of you guys have probably been out there and you've used the tools. It's a real thing, right? So now there's this whole dynamic which is starting to appear with everyone trying to release their own version of, their own AI tool. You would have seen probably in the news, Google released their Bard, which was their AI tool, which was a complete flop. It completely failed on the on the launch, which was really funny if you go back and watch that. But anyway, the point is, all these things are starting to move really quickly. And I will say as well on that topic, we have a policy over at Tradie Web Guys now with our team where we're like, don't take any 12-month subscriptions on any AI tool because realistically it's probably going to be outdated real quick. And that's literally the space we're in. Like every week there's something coming out. There's even a whole tool. Funnily enough, I hadn't got this prepared in the notes, but there's even a tool available that will tell you which AI tools are available, and it's called there's an AI for that.com, and it's actually a product of ChatGPT, OpenAI, but it basically tells you all the new tools that are available in the space of AI technology. It's called there's an AI for that.com. It's pretty cool. Anyway, I digress. And I'm probably going to do that a lot in this episode because there's a lot of different things, little segues and things that pop up as we start talking, which is kind of why I wanted to do it, because the blog is a little bit more static and a bit more structured. Whereas, as you can see here in the podcast, I'm just chilling out, drinking a glass of water and riffing on some of the things that we've created in this blog. So anyway, the battle is real. It exists, and there's market share that's at stake here, and of course, market share is money. And so now we're seeing an interesting, I suppose, an interesting shift in the power plays out there, which is, to be honest, is good. It's a good thing. Google have had it way too good for way too long, and it's great. I would love to see Microsoft come along and start challenging more on that front, as I'm sure you guys would, especially you guys out there that are so heavily invested in Google's landscape in the space of things like paid advertising and things like search engine optimization. I mean, essentially Google, from a marketing point of view, I can tell you this, Google have pretty much ruined creativity when it comes to internet marketing, and like every website looks the same. Why is that? Well, because Google wants this, 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 and this, and this. And, if you don't have it, then you don't show up in search. Like it's not a good thing. So it's a necessary evil, but I mean, the reality is it's kind of stagnant. Things are looking stale, and I think this could be a really nice, refreshing, yet unknown advancement within the marketing space. And so I want to touch on a few of these things. So the reason that I need you guys need to keep up to date with not the direct intricacies of what we're talking about here, but certainly just get a bit of an idea of some of these things that are happening within the marketplace. Because I can tell you right now, from someone that runs an agency, the landscape of marketing is going through a huge change. And man, I am so glad it is, because it was so stale for so long. And like I said before, you're literally just ticking boxes in order for things to show up. in search, and search that's controlled by the likes of Google, so on and so forth. So there's a huge shift that's going to be happening here, and we're scratching the surface of it now. Of course, it's constantly going to evolve. But some of the things that we're going to be talking about here today are why, like how Google is coming back, I suppose, in response to this whole OpenAI scene and what they're doing. So they've kicked off Google, as you know, makes a lot of updates to their search engines all the time. So that's not a new thing. It's sometimes a painful thing because you guys at the receiving end of it, often the ones whose rankings and stuff like that gets affected. The reality is they're always updating the algorithm. They're always making changes. No one really knows ever what's going on. Sure, they make announcements, by which time you've got to sort of go back and make sure you've crossed your T's and dotted your I's and that kind of stuff from a marketing point of view. But it's ever changing. That will not change. But what has changed is, alongside that, Google are now building a completely new search engine called Magi, Project Magi, they've called it. You can go Google it if you want, ironically. But essentially, it's a real game changer within the search engine space, because this search engine is designed to be specifically leveraging AI. Now, I want you to put into context at the moment how you guys personally use Google for search-related things. Typically, you log onto your computer or you log onto your phone, you type something into Google, and then a bunch of results come up, and you're going to go fishing through those results to find what you want. That's all going to change, and that is changing. I mean, for example, now I literally just pull up my Apple Watch and I talk to it and I ask it for things and it tells me. So the way that we search for things is changing. And that method that we're currently, using and we talk about, like that, we've been doing that for 15, 20 years. Nothing much has really changed. So things are starting to change now. And now we've got we've got this amazing assistant, which you can call AI, which is there that can really play a big part in it. And some of you guys have been playing with really basic AI over the years, whether you know it or not. Things like Siri and Google, or Alexa and that kind of stuff. Like, it's pretty basic stuff, a lot of those AI tools can help you with, native apps and controlling things like that, but they don't really speak to each other. Like, you can't really go into, you can't go into Siri and ask Siri how to, find this certain song in this certain name Spotify playlist. Like, it doesn't really talk very well across different applications, and that I imagine will change, and that's when things will start getting really interesting. But anyway, but I'm just going to refer back to the blog here. I'm just going to talk to you about what Project Magi is, because this initiative, which has been designed by Google, has been put together to improve the overall search experience by AI technology, by leveraging AI technologies that are available, right? So what the aim here, and I'm reading this. So the project aims to provide more accurate research results, enhance ad targeting. I'll say that again: enhance ad targeting and deliver better user experiences. So by using AI algorithms, Project Magi can optimize content for trade businesses, helping them rank higher on search engine result pages, or the SERPs, and attract more customers. So that's really cool, because this is, like I said before, something that's kind of been a little bit stale. Like that whole user experience, of course, we're used to it now because we've kind of been conditioned, but the reality is it's a shitty user experience. You end up sitting there for hours trying to find something. You very rarely find exactly what you want. Like, it's a shitty user experience. There's no other way to describe it. And so, this whole Project Magi is out to sort of reshape that. OpenAI, which is essentially the curator of artificial intelligence language models, right? And ChatGPT is one of their language models. They've got a bunch of other ones, some that speak to imagery and all this kind of stuff. It's really cool if you go check it out. But these language models can help you analyze vast amounts of data and generate human-like responses, and even create content for marketing purposes by harnessing the power of OpenAI language models. Now, so it's a little bit different. So where Google's sort of more focusing on that whole search functionality for in the AI space, and OpenAI are still sort of more going down that whole content related um, avenue. There is a crossover, and I'll give you a prime example. So whether you know it or not, like Chat GPT and the content that it creates leaves an AI footprint. And the AI footprint, whether this has been proven yet, I'm not quite sure, but I've certainly seen many discussions and blogs and listen to podcasts that talk about it, but I haven't seen actual proof. Google apparently can define or see that footprint and penalize you for it. Now, think about this for a second. If you use, say, ChatGPT to create content for a blog page or whatever the heck it might be, social media post, newsletter, whatever, and and people are using Bing for that experience, do you think Bing are going to care if you're using ChatGPT, which they back and fund with $10 billion to for people that are looking for that in Bing? No, of course not. So this is where it gets really interesting, right? Because now we've got this, like I said before, the battle clash of the titans here, and you're talking about market share, which is money. So it's really interesting to follow this and understand, okay, how this dynamic is coming into play. This is also, like we're talking about the two top ones at the moment, there's going to be a lot more players come into this space. So keep your eyes open for this kind of stuff. So I want to talk about like what the future of like SEO looks like for trade businesses, because we're already seeing AI driven content optimization, keyword research, and all that kind of stuff. And in truth, most marketing agencies have been using this technology for years, right? Like it's not necessarily new. The way that we approach it over at Tradie Web Guys is we use the AI to help us formulate off a strict bunch of rules and prompts that we put into different texts in order to help us get like a version 1 of a piece of content, for example, that we can then go and refine and we can make right. Because truthfully, it is good for that. It's good for creating a version 1 of things, but it's not amazing for creating like a final copy. So you do need to go through and you've got to critique these things and you've got to improve them so that so that you can put your expertise layer over the top of it and eliminate some of the things that you do see there, or more to the point, just make it right, because sometimes it's not right. For any of you guys that have ever been down the path of creating content, you will know that the hardest part of any content creation piece is version 1. If somebody gives you something that you can edit, then it's a lot more of a smoother process. And some of you guys will be thinking, "Oh, this is great. So, like, what do we need agencies for anymore?" Well, you need the expertise, and like you need the people that can put the right prompts into the tool, knowing what's right and what isn't. And so, what we're finding over at the agency is it's been able to double our output, which is great because it means that the copywriters, for example, can go over there and they can do twice as many or thrice as many, pieces of content in the space that it would have originally taken them just to get one draft put together. So, it's been really useful in getting that initial draft or version 1 copy of the content put together. And I encourage you guys to go and play with it. See what, but go and play with it, knowing full well. I mean, the way to test it is put something that you're familiar with, your knowledge in an industry. If you're a plumber, you're a builder, whatever, put that into the system, and then see what it returns you, because you'll see exactly what I mean. Like it's not by any measure finished. Anyway, the voice search and its impact on local SEO for trade business is going to be huge, right? And like, again, the iWatch and things like that is a prime example. You'll be able to just eventually just talk to your watch and say, you find me a local plumber now, call them, and it will come up with a bunch of prompts and go bang, okay, cool. So that's kind of the segue that it will be taking. Like, voice is going to become more and more apparent. It has been becoming more and more apparent with tools like Google Home and Alexa and Siri and all that kind of stuff, but it will continue to do so. The personalized search results that will come from local search and assets that have been optimized well are going to be the ones that are going to benefit massively for this. So this again is another good thing. Like there is no question about it. This is a promising thing for you guys out there, and I encourage you to be early adopters of this. And like we're sort of going all in on this over at the agency now. Because like realistically that whole landscape is changing so much, and we know this is going to be where it's going to be trending towards, so why not get ahead of the curve, right? The other interesting thing is, and this is, if you've been following this podcast for a while, if you're a client of ours over at the agency, you will know that I have been banging on about this for years and years and years. And that's the topic of authority, building authority and positioning yourself as the expert within your specific vertical. Now, there's a term for this. It's called EAT, as in EAT. That stands for expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. Now, the why this is cool and why I'm so passionate about this is that I know that the businesses out there that are willing to go down this path and this journey with us in helping them become the expert within their industry through creating useful, relevant content, publishing the content, enabling and starting conversations around those topics with people that are interested. They are the businesses that are going to stand out. And this is the good news, right? Oh, and the bad news. Most people within business will not do this because it's too uncomfortable. It means they've got to create content. They've got to speak into a video camera. They've got to do this and that and blah, blah, blah. Most businesses won't do it. And if you're the one that will do it, you are setting yourself up for a great future. Of course, now there's AI tools that are doing this. So if you've doubted what I've been saying over the years, then all you got to do is look at these AI tools, which can essentially replicate your voice and even your face, and and say these things for you. Like I'm not joking. Like this stuff is available now, right? So like it's a real thing. So I think this whole trend is going to progress to become more and more prevalent within small business. And if you're in a small business vertical like trades where people are coming to you for information, you have an amazing opportunity to capitalize on this. That's the reality. So how's the AI going to change paid advertising? Well, we're already seeing it. For you guys out that are running Google Ads, there's actually already Google makes AI-based recommendations on, how you can change and update and improve campaigns. It's a little bit clunky at the moment, to be honest, and I don't know too many people that are going all in on it, but the point is it's already happening. So this, again, is probably a good thing. As this technology improves and is refined, it's going to be based on data. It's going to be based on, and not just data, native data. So if you look at Google, ads, for example, that information is going to be coming straight from Google search engines, which is based on what you're typing into the search engine to find something. So it's good data. It's not like stuff that they're pulling out of Wikipedia, right? No offense, Wikipedia. So this as well will improve things like the audience targeting, because they'll be able to go, right, well, this is the audiences that are putting these search engines and these keywords into the search engines. We can build audiences around that, and we can target, and it kind of just starts fueling itself, which is super, super interesting and very, very useful for the purpose of marketing. Dynamic ad content, we've been seeing this for a long time now. Like you can even have dynamic web pages where you've got different campaigns which will show different content on different web pages. It's been around for a while. That will just improve and get better and better. And then there's the whole concept around how you enter the data and enter the information and create images and all that kind of stuff around the role AI is going to play in that looking forward. It's only going to get more and more prevalent. And perhaps some of that technology is going to be native within platform, and perhaps some of it will be third party. But regardless, you're starting to see these things happening all over the place now. And again, I think it's pretty cool. Then we have the whole interesting conversation of social media and where AI is going to come into play from the purpose of social media platforms such as, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, blah, blah, blah. Now, I suppose this is one thing we've seen it, of course, within the content space, no problem. But where is that going to end up? What journey is that going to take us on? Straight away, you navigate towards, okay, well, these are businesses, right? As is Google. And when you look at, introduction of Project Magi, right? And if you look at, the way that Google uses Google Ads as their primary business model, of course, that AI is going to be going all in on, paid traffic and advertising and things like that. Like it's a model, right? And you look at Facebook, so or any of those platforms, how will the social media platforms use AI in the space of audience targeting, or and anything to do with audiences, like their AI driven, like the demographics, the behavioral insights, their interests, their et cetera, et cetera. So, if you've got a tool that's doing that for you, it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. And more importantly, it gets it done a lot quicker. So you would like to think, looking forward, that the advertising on these platforms will get better. And what I mean by better is you're going to see less irrelevant shit showing up in your newsfeed, hopefully showing up in your newsfeed. You're probably going to see more stuff relevant to you showing up in the newsfeed, which could be a good or a bad thing, depending on whether you're the type of person that pulls your wallet out and buys stuff all the time. But the point is, it should get better and better, right? So I'd be interested to see how that pans out. Also, you're starting to see a lot of communication-based AI, so things like chatbots. Currently, they're horrendous, but that will hopefully get better and better. The problem is with chatbots at the moment is they're not really AI. Like they're very much based on what you put in. If they answer this, then tell it this. If they do this, then tell it this, and blah blah blah. Whereas now, the intelligence is starting to actually be able to come up with answers, which means that it kind of interacts a little bit more in a human way. So that will advance and advance. And it's kind of scary, to be honest. It's kind of like Skynet stuff, but we will see definitely better AI in that space, and that will mean you'll get better engagement, you'll get better customer experience, and hopefully it results in better lead generation and lead capture. So I think that's something to look forward to in the future of social media advertising and marketing. I think realistically, if I'm looking into a glass ball here, based on what I've seen over the last 6 months, some of these emerging trends are going to be such a breath of fresh air to the way small businesses engage in marketing practices. It's putting a lot of the power back into small businesses and into parties that support small businesses, because that model that currently has been running for so long, it's such a stale and boring space, So I like to think that things are going to evolve, and those things are going to be both represented visually and represented in a way that makes it easier to manage things. And I really do like to think that some of these AI tools we're going to be able to call partners within the business and become a necessity in the way that we operate. It's going to be able to help us mitigate and minimize expenses with things like staffing, and maybe more to the point, it will enable us to take some of these ridiculous time-consuming tasks off staff members and get a tool to do it, so you can get them to apply themselves to something more important. So I think there's going to be some really good evolution in that space. If I'm going to summarize anything here, it's definitely that it's not going anywhere. It's really important that while these things are sort of in their infancy and they're constantly evolving, it's important that we certainly embrace and are made aware of what that looks like for us and for your business, because it will be changing. Things will be adapting. Like I said before, don't go and take any 12-month subscriptions for anything at the moment, because chances are next month there's going to be something new and better. But that's an exciting space to be in. And, whether you like it or not, you guys are in the marketing game. Like, you're running a small business, you need to market yourself. And these tools are certainly going to help some of that. And that's pretty much all I wanted to say. So, as I mentioned, I'm going to be putting this blog up on the SiteShed's website. So head across to the siteshed.com. If you search AI, you'll see a lot of these things come up. We'll dive a little bit deeper into some of these automated bidding strategies that Google have got, and some of the what EAT rankings are and all that kind of stuff. Dynamic ad content and all these kind of things. It's like we're going to dive a little bit more into that, and then we'll be adding to this. And if this is something that interests you guys, you got to let me know, right? So, I'd love to know how you guys have started using and embracing AI in your business, in your trade business, and where you've used it, how you've used it. What are the pros? What are the cons? I know for certain, I was just staying with a friend of ours in Sydney over the weekend because we were at a wedding, and their 9-year-old daughter is no longer allowed to take public speaking presentations, handwritten public speaking presentations. They're not allowed to take it home anymore because kids are just going home, jumping into ChatGPT and getting these amazing presentations done. And they're taking it back to school. And the teacher's like, this is not written by a 9-year-old. Give me a break. And like, we're seeing this everywhere now. Like, even as part of our recruiting, when we like hiring new people, we're having people that are sending in responses. And of course, we've got filters and stuff for this, so we know. But like, people that are sending in responses purely created out of AI, it's hilarious. So, pros and cons, right? There's good and bad things to come from this, but I like to sort of focus more on the good than the bad. But anyway, let me know how you're using it. I hope this was a helpful podcast. Please head across to the siteshed.com/newsletter. Sign up for that and look forward to these emails coming out. And if it's anything you want to hear more of, I know a lot of you guys message me, through Facebook Messenger and that kind of stuff. Thank you for doing that. It's awesome. If there's anything else you want to hear more of specifically, reply to the newsletter, hit me up in the Facebook group. If you're not part of that group, get over there. There's 6,000 odd members of that community. We're going to start putting a lot more emphasis into that group soon. And we've got a lot more products and solutions coming out in this space as well, guys. Actually, our trade business lead management system or contact management system called the Hub, which is, you can check it out over at tradiehub.net. We've actually now recently just switched on for every account the ability for the owners to create social media posts direct from platform using AI. So you can actually log into the Hub now. You can go to your Facebook page, you can create a post, and you can get the AI to create the post for you. You can amend it if you want, and then you can publish, and it will send it straight to your Facebook page. Like, it's an amazing tool, and this is a direct integration with, through the APIs of of this amazing software. So guys, stay in contact. I can't wait to hear your feedback on this. I look forward to chatting to you again in the future. That's all from me. I'm Matt Jones. This is the SiteShed Podcast. Please give this a like and a share with someone if you think they benefit from it. And if you've got any comments, leave them wherever you see this come through. Ciao.